Hello everyone, Pepper Hernandez from drpepperhernandez.com coming to you today to speak to you a little bit about something that's been, heavy on my heart. It's something I've lived with for quite some time, and I wanted to just tune in with you and let you know how important it is to take care of ourselves. So today, I'm going to share a little bit of my personal story with you. Some of you know me, and some of you have heard me speak, or you've watched some of my videos, or you're part of my courses or classes, and maybe you've kind of got the insight. But in awareness of International Epileptic Day or Epilepsy Day, I wanted to share this video with you. Hopefully it will tell a little bit about my story and also some of my things that I'm doing or suggesting out to clients, and hopefully it'll be educational for you. So if you enjoy these videos that I'm bringing you, please like, subscribe, and share. What this does is it puts it out into the universe so many people can educate themselves, and these little videos are free, so just share it, because everyone has a right to get their education and to be understood and heard and seen. And so send this to someone that you might think might need it. So here's my story. I was diagnosed with epileptic seizures when I was 19. And some of you have probably heard my podcast, or I think one of our podcasts is on iHeartRadio, and I just did a huge thing for International Epilepsy Day, and I speak for the Epilepsy Foundation as well here in Northern California. And so a little more than 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with epilepsy and had a very severe epileptic seizure, which actually put me fully out of my body. I was unconscious. And my family, bless their hearts, I love my mother and my father so much, and I'm sure they were just out of their mind when that happened. I get a little emotional because I don't usually talk about these personal stories that much, but I've helped so many people that I feel like it's time for me to share some of my stories. So anyhow, I'm sure it just frightened them and scared them, me being a young person. I had always been very active. I was in youth, I was a cheerleader, and I was in college at the time and university, and I had gone for the summer and to another state and was trying that whole thing out, which was fun. And I started having seizures, and the neurologist and everyone that was working with my family told them that I may have that forever. There were some things of if I was ever to give go through childbirth or decide that I wanted children, that was going to be difficult for me because of the seizures and because of the medication. So that was always something I had to live with. And then also on top of that, just having seizures, driving was scary. And I think it was probably a good year, maybe, that it took before I got back into my normal stuff. I know I took a semester off of university, and there was other things. I mean, I had to live with my parents for, I was just becoming at the time, I was becoming a woman, I was becoming an adult, and I was traveling, and I was in university, and it just knocked me back. And so I was so grateful that my family had the resources and the openness and the love and the kindness that they did, and were able to take care of me, So that has happened. That little stint of story has happened multiple times in my life, where I've worked myself up to a place that my nervous system, I didn't pay attention to my nervous system, and so 20 years of understanding that the seizures and the epilepsy are actually like a nervous system issue, and that's coming from that, and I need to support my nervous system. that's been really, really helpful, because there's been, I think, maybe 3 or 4, you could ask my mother, but there have been multiple times where my seizures just put me out, and I had to kind of like go back and live at my parents' while they took care of me and like helped me recognize things. I think this last one was probably about 4 years ago, and I didn't drive, and I didn't even remember my address. It was pretty debilitating. It was pretty intense, and so that's my story. It's kind of an out-of-body thing, and I think I've only spoke on epilepsy a few times, a handful of times or whatnot, for foundations or for private speaking events, without just bawling, without losing it. But now it's been a couple years that I've been speaking on it, so it's a little bit easier for me to kind of just say, this is my life, this is what happens, this is what happened. And at the time, there wasn't a lot that could be done. It was synthetic drugs, and you just had to kind of shuffle through different synthetic drugs. And so I think I went through, Tegretol and Dilantin, and finally I happened upon carbamazepine and the generic form of carbamazepine, and that seemed to be the one that I was able to use for a very long time. I think almost a decade I was able to use that without any side effects. I think that was my and that's kind of what you have to do, and that's probably for any discomfort or disorder. You have to find the right drug that works for you. So anyhow, I did that, and then a few years ago, I would say about 5 years ago, I had other body discomforts that I will tell you about in another video. I had the tumor the size of a grapefruit that I had to deal with, and I started having really severe, prior to that, I had started having really severe panic attacks and crippling anxiety, to the point where I was just overtaking my mind, my body, everything. I was just shut down. And it took a while to get out of that, but then that's kind of when it started, like ding, 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 ding. All these things are the same thing. I need magnesium. I need multiple forms of magnesium, and a natural one, obviously, fruit derived, all these different things to get into my body, so my body would be like, fully on par with it, and that was the one element that I was missing. There's a lot of vitamins and minerals, and so I started doing biofeedback and getting myself just right in alignment. Any of you that know the Zyto feedback machine, I have one personally, and I use it once a week at least. And so right now I'm between 0 and 5, which is very exciting if you know what I'm talking about. And I have been for a long time. I'm super excited, like about a year. So I've been feeling really good, just getting my body constantly tuned in. And so, spiraling back around to cannabis, I was in this Mecca community, Humboldt County, where there was the most amazing cannabis everywhere, and everyone was really using it recreational. Now, again, this was, when it became recreational legal in California, and it was really new. This was, let's say back in 2010, 2012 is when I moved here. And then shortly after that is when I started really recognizing cannabis, and some things made me paranoid and some things made me comfortable, and I kind of stayed away from alcohol and any cannabis, any stimulants, until I realized that there was a benefit from it. And so I started juicing and using strains that at the time I didn't recognize that it was a CBD component, but I was using cannabis that I really liked, that felt good, which was ones that smelt, a certain way, and now I know those are terpenes, and the epigenetic structure of them, and the way it was grown and organically and everything. So that's why I'm as deep in as I am, is because I have done it from my own personal journey. So, boom, that's what I have to say, is that epilepsy, seizures, panic disorders, anxiety, all of those are nervous system issues from the body structure of the nervous system. We have 72,000 nerve endings in our body. So thank goodness to cannabis, specifically non-psychoactive CBD, plant-derived full spectrum. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I did another video on full spectrum just the other day that you can watch, and thank goodness to that. Eating correctly. I've always been a raw foodist. I've always eaten really well, but there were certain nutrients and vitamins that I wasn't getting. So I had to start adding those to my diet as I was getting older. And then, Kundalini yoga, which I'll do videos on that another time as well. But Kundalini yoga, that one, it just was very, very good for me. And I still do 2 hours a day every single day because it's my medicine. So I have understood, and this may be a little bit longer of a video, so thanks for sticking with me if you're still here. I have understood that using cannabis in different ailments, discomfort is kind of a hit or miss. But just like synthetics, when someone prescribes you, a prescribing physician prescribes you synthetic forms of drugs, that's a drug, okay? Plants are medicine. You have to sometimes go through a few of those drugs in order to find the right match. And so we also have to remember we may have to go through a couple different combinations of cannabinoids and terpenes, full spectrum, to find the right medicine for yourself. So I just want to thank you for listening to my story. And if you feel at all, if you feel like you would like to reach out and tune in with me, I do consults here in my office. We do it in person. I can also fly to you if you're like a specialized professional. I have done that. We also do phone consults, speaking events. There's all sorts I do retreats. I do all sorts of things to speak to people specifically on the nervous system and my personal backstory. So thank you very much for listening. In a moment, I am going to record another video specifically on the new types of FDA cannabis approved drugs for seizures and epilepsy. So thank you again, Pepper Hernandez from drpepperhernandez.com. Thank you for connecting with me. Have a beautiful, magical day, because why not?